Hi guys, Ian here. So welcome to another episode of Midlifers. So today we have something special. In my hand I have the Pentax 17. So this is the latest film camera from Pentax. It's the latest film camera that's been produced in the last 20 years from Pentax, and I think the last film camera that was ever produced was the Nikon F6, and that was in the 2010s. So this is something brand new. Let's go through the main features of it and we'll see how it shoots. Alright, so this is the overview of the physical characteristic of the camera. So you can see on the top there is basically the film rewind lever. Then you got your ISO dial. To change ISO, you press this button and you rotate the dial. This is your viewfinder. It says craftsmanship by Pentax, and a film camera in case you forgot that it's a film camera. This is your film plane indicator. So you measure the distance from here to your subject. This is the mode dial. So the mode dial has an area where it's like without flash, and then the orange one is with flash, and there's an auto which suitable for beginners. Then there's a power switch, the shutter button, and then the film rewind lever and the number of shots taken. So it's a half frame camera. The shots taken goes up to 72. It's really hard to finish a roll. Okay, and on the back you have a plastic film door, and this is a slot for your film square or tab to indicate what film you have inside. So today I've loaded in Portra 800, so I've set it to 800. Okay, so one of the major complaints of the camera is the focusing. So you can see that the focusing is done by this tiny ring over here. So basically there are a few settings. There's like flower, food, one man, two man, family, and infinity. So I mean, it's not a precise gauge, doesn't need to be. If you want to be more precise, there are meter readings here, feet over here. So you can see that the macro mode starts at 0.25, which is really close, and all the way to infinity. The focusing is not a manual mechanical focus, it's actually done electronically. So if I go to, yeah, so okay, it's electronically controlled focusing. So I think that next time implementing AF will be very easy, which is something that they definitely would do. Okay, I'm gonna try to take portraits of them. So usability aspects of the camera. So after shooting the camera for a while, I realized that the film rewind lever is really nice. There's a nice action. However, you will bump this dial quite easily. So if I'm shooting one-handed like this, then if I want to wind the film, sometimes it bumps the thing. So I have done this a few times and it has bumped it into bulb, and yeah, I don't know what the shot's gonna look like. So that is a problem with this film winding lever over here. And also when you hold it in one hand, the grip is very nice. People have complained about the screw over here. The screw does not dig into your hand at all. It's actually pretty okay when you hold it in one hand. But the problem is, it's so nice to hold in one hand because it's so light. The problem is I can't focus while using it in one hand easily, because you see, if I'm going to wind the film and then I'm going to focus, it's pretty awkward. Yeah, and I still bump this thing over here. Everyone who has tried this also bump the lever. And if you leave the lever out when you hold it to your face, because the viewfinder is so small, yeah, it pokes your eye. So they should put a stopper on this, like this side where you press and then you can turn it. Okay, viewfinder wise, it's 25mm in half. It's not as wide as you expect. You can shoot in landscape, but it's still not as wide as you expect. It'll be closer to a 40mm on full frame equivalent. Nice thing about the viewfinder is that you can see the focusing mark over there. It's bright enough, just a bit small. What you're paying for is basically the experience of using the camera. You're not paying for the image quality, but you get double the experience because you get 72 shots and you can push the film rewind lever 72 times per roll. Okay, so we met some friends. Damian's here. So I just passed him the camera to see his experience in shooting. So some of the photos will be taken by him.
Okay, I experienced it firsthand, yes. I keep flicking the dial.
So like I told you, the dial is an issue, right?
Yeah. Literally just happened.
Yeah.
So you gotta be really hyper aware, I guess, of
Yeah.
making sure you're shooting the correct shooting mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think the build quality is quite good. It feels like a sturdy, well-made camera, and I think that's very important for a consumer.
Okay.
I think in terms of shooting experience, probably need to get used to fiddling with the focus, fiddling with the program mode as well.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting proposition.
Yeah.
I think it's a camera worth considering to get if you're into trying to get the most out of your film in particular, because it's a half frame.
You know what? I think this is the perfect street camera, where it's like a small camera, you can just pick it up with one hand and just shoot quickly.
Yep. Very fast.
Yep.
Okay. 2%.
So how do you like the film advanced lever?
I mean, it's apart from the program dial being hit from time to time, it's feels quite smooth. Again, kudos to Pentax for making such a good build. I'll be interested to see how it unwinds actually at the end. Okay, I think it's the last one. Okay, so we are done with shooting. Okay, so I'm going to wind the film back. So it's basically like any other camera, I guess. I have not read the instruction manual, but I'm just going to press this button over here. Then we just wind it back. So the arrow, then we just go. Moment of truth. Let's pull this up. Alright, so you can see the internals of the camera now. So we've taken out the film. So this is the half frame. Yeah, we can see that maybe it's a bit offset to one side. So maybe in their future design, they might actually extend it to a full frame. I'm not very sure. The film plate is quite big. It looks like a full frame film plate actually. So maybe if they would just extend this part to full frame, I guess it will be a full frame camera. What I like about this camera is that there's a mark here where you just drag the film over and you just close the thing and you can start shooting already. Because in my Nikon F3, I have to stuff it into a slot, where this is a modern design that just sticks it up without putting it into any slot. So this is good. Okay, so Damian, would you buy it? I mean, I would think about it very carefully, because it probably depends what kind of photographer you are. I think this is very good for street. I think this is very good for, just pulling out the camera, shooting something and then putting it back. You're going to get a lot of shots with this roll, so I think that's quite important. And I think you can probably share it online on social media with quite good enough resolution, so that it will be nice enough for people to appreciate online.
Alright, so we're home now. I've sent the photos to be developed at Wampo, and I've just got them back. So I'm just going to show you the photos straight out of the scanner. We're not going to do any editing, because I guess this is a baseline reference for guys in Singapore who sent to Wampo as well. So this is the first shot I've taken. So this one was a rice ball. You can see on the middle of the image there's a little bit of a light leak. So this was the very first shot. So I didn't advance the film so much, because I ended up with a total of 78 images. So actually I could have advanced a few more frames to get rid of this light leak, but it's a cool effect. So the second shot I took was a selfie. So this was held like at arm's length with the flash on, everything on P mode. So yeah, it came out perfectly well. I don't think there was any issue with the exposure or the focusing here. Okay, and then this was a shot without flash. So subsequent shots mostly are taken without flash. So this one was just outside rice ball. So you can see that exposure also pretty well done. It takes into account the lights of the rice ball sign. So obviously the shot will be underexposed. And yeah, as we went out, this was what we got. I find the camera is fantastic if you're in a street situation where you actually just hold it in your hand and you can quickly just take some snapshots. It works really quickly and really well. Just remember to set your focusing first. The whole action of winding the film and the shutter, everything is pretty smooth. So you can just bring it up to your eye, quickly snap a shot. So it works exactly like your favorite street cameras. I would assume like your Leicas or your Ricoh GRs. In this shot, I missed the focus slightly because I forgot to set it to the correct distance, but aperture stopped down reasonably well enough so that we can sort of see what's happening in the frame. Okay, so when your focus is set correctly, like in this shot, it's pretty sharp.
So lens characteristic is also really good. This was quite a close-up shot of the leaves over here. We can see that, yeah, in terms of distortion, not very much distortion actually. Looks quite good. So this shot was the one that I had some issues with the mode dial. As you advance the film advance lever, sometimes you inadvertently will bump the mode dial. So I bumped it all the way into bulb, and then yeah, I got this shot that is super blur. So once you rectify the issue, pretty okay. You can tell that there's a lot of film grain, so they obviously lifted the exposure a bit while scanning. This is because I think that the shutter speed didn't go down too low to induce camera shake. It does quite well in mixed lighting situations like this, so everything is roughly exposed quite okay. And the sharpness of the lens is pretty good. In this shot, you can see the distortion is quite minimal actually. And for macro shots like this, it's a little bit tricky because you have to judge the distance really well. Because this was set on the minimum focus distance, and I think I was still not close enough because the minimum focus distance was 25 centimeters, which is kind of close. Yeah, so I find that the camera is fantastic as a general walkabout camera, just to document your daily life. It's a half frame, the resolution is pretty okay, pretty decent. Obviously scans, if you do it yourself, you can get much better resolution out of this, and I'm using Portra 800 in this, so it tends to look a little bit grainy when you view full screen. However, I guess if you use like maybe Portra 400 or Portra 160, I think you would get quite fantastic results given enough light. Yeah, so you can see the lines are all straight. There's not much distortion going on here. The lens also is quite well controlled for any CA and stuff like that. Flare we didn't test because it was rainy, so it was pretty dark. The viewfinder was pretty accurate also. This was roughly what I intended, what I envisioned, and I roughly got the correct framing. Okay, so in this shot, our friend Chris was out of focus because I forgot to change the focus. So in the next shot, we've changed the focus, and you can see it's pretty sharp. And yeah, this was a nice shot I got, so we'll talk about this later. Yeah, the exposure metering worked pretty well. This was when I passed Chris the camera. So this was close up while we're having coffee. And our good friend Damian with flash. So when the flash is on, you can tell that it's pretty nicely exposed. The background is also exposed properly. And with Sandra, and you can see the background, we still can see the neon lights and everything like that. So the flash is not too bright, it's not too overpowering. Okay, so this was like a slow shutter, or it's a slow sync basically. So the flash went off, then you move the camera, then you get this kind of effect. So it drags the shutter speed so you can get your backgrounds properly exposed together with your subject. If you wish to have this kind of effect, you can do some creative stuff by moving the camera around. Pretty casual shots we've taken. Okay, this was outdoor shots done in bokeh mode. So with the bokeh mode, we've noticed that it actually opens up the aperture all the way, but given that it was so dark, I think it would have anyway. But the results are pretty nice. If you take a portrait of someone, let's say like a half body, you still get some background blur. So I would say, given the correct light, I think it will work quite well. So I find that the camera works as a camera very well. I have no complaints on the ergonomics of it. It doesn't feel so cheap. It actually feels quite solid in hand. And the lightness is pretty good if you bring it around daily, and you can just put it in your bag and you won't notice it's there. As for the focusing, that's my major gripe. If your finger's a bit big, it's a bit hard to turn the focusing dial because it's so thin. And the mode dial turns way too easily. It's too smooth. Advance the film, you may actually bump the wheel, as Damian has bumped it. Everyone who has tried it that day bumped the wheel. So let's go on to who the camera I feel is for. I don't feel that this is a camera for serious photography. Obviously, you can get serious photographs out of this if you wish. The lens quality is there. But I would say that this is more of a fun camera to document your life with, which is obviously what Pentax was going at. There's, first of all, no manual, total manual mode. There's only some exposure compensation, which is like +1 or 2 stops only. So it exposes pretty well. You should get pretty decent shots out of it without much fussing about. So given that there's no manual mode, I guess this works like a point and shoot, except that you have to figure out your focusing. So maybe they could have added a autofocus system, which I think they might in the future revisions of this product. Maybe they will have an SLR one, who knows. But if there was autofocus, and yeah, it could be a fantastic daily point and shoot camera. that's who I think it's for. I don't think it's for the kind of people who like go out and take film photos every day. I think we're a bit biased when we look at this product because we're all like film analog enthusiasts over here. So we expect a lot out of this product. But what Pentax envision is that this should be a starter camera. It's basically a starter for the masses. It's not aimed at the enthusiast itself. So I feel that as enthusiasts, I don't think we should judge it as how we judge our Hasselblads and our Nikons and all the high-end film cameras, because this is not created for the enthusiast. This is created for everyone. So it needs to be simple enough, it needs to produce good images, and it needs to be light enough and cheap enough. Price, it's a bit high. So in Singapore, it's roughly about $800 to $850. So it's quite high for a basic film camera that has no manual function. So I guess in that kind of price range, when you're looking for a camera, you would want something that you could expand your skills into and do some manual overrides. So vintage cameras, let's say if you want to get old Nikon F, you probably can get something pretty decent around the $800 mark range. And that would be a manual camera. So if you want flexibility and you want to be able to take more creative photographs, you might be better off with an interchangeable lens system like the vintage Nikons. But don't forget, this is a new camera with warranty. So I guess it's not for the hardcore enthusiast. It's for someone who just wants to pick up something that is easy with warranty, wouldn't break down. If it breaks down, you can get it fixed and just use it. Yeah, rather than tinker around with it. So I guess this is not for me, it's not for Prash. We like flexibility. We like to do funny things with the cameras. Would we buy it? I wouldn't buy it. So I think the problem is not because of the build of the camera. It's not because it's too plasticky. It's not because it's bad in any way. It's not because it's half frame. It's just because it's priced wrongly. So if the price was correct, I think everyone would love it. And yeah, something you should look at, Pentax. As for me, I'm gonna stick to my Ricoh GR because I take too many photos, so I don't think film is sustainable in the long run. So yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, click the like, drop us a comment. We'll see if any of us buys the Pentax in the future and we can test it further. But as of what the first look I had, it's a fantastic camera. It works very well. So if you want to buy it, go ahead and buy it. There's nothing wrong with it. You wouldn't do badly if you buy it. And interesting note, so there was a photo I took. Okay, so this was the photo I took. So I entered this for some competition in Funan and we got the run-up prize. So who says half-frame cameras aren't good enough for competitions? I mean, it's all about your photography and your intended use of the medium. So if you use it well, if it delivers your intent, I guess this camera serves as a camera. So yeah, go out shooting and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.